It's gotten to the point now that when you see the Sony logo before and in association with Marvel banner, you can't help but cringe a little. The live-action films that Sony has made based on Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery have all been pretty terrible, with Morbius and Madame Web ranking among the worst superhero movies ever made. The fact that the Venom trilogy was mediocre is something of a triumph for the beleaguered slate of films. For a while now, the director of Kraven the Hunter, Chandor, has been promising this would be different. As a boy, young Sergei Kravinov is mauled by a lion only to be saved by a mysterious serum that grants him amazing physical and mental powers. Abandoning the criminal empire run by his father, played by Russell Crowe, Sergei, now known as Kraven and played by a hulking Aaron Taylor Johnson, hunts down evildoers only to be pulled back into his father's orbit when his younger half-brother Dmitri, played by Fred Hetchinger, is kidnapped. So I went into Kraven the Hunter with decently high hopes, as I'd actually seen about 20 minutes of footage a few weeks ago before interviewing Aaron Taylor Johnson, and you can look for our interview pretty soon. I actually really liked what I saw, and I think Chandor is a great director, having been a fan of all of his previous films, but in particular, A Most Violent Year and the very underrated Triple Frontier. Sadly, Kraven the Hunter is a total mess in a way the isolated bits of footage I saw earlier just didn't reveal. Like other movies in the Spider-Verse, it feels made by committee, with any of the interesting elements Chandor brings to the movie having been washed away in what I can only presume is a sea of reshoots and re-edits. The script is a mess, with it never clear exactly just why Kraven hunts down evildoers and if he profits from it, with his sprawling jungle hideaway and private pilot making it seem like he sure does. It's loaded with corny dialogue that I found impossible to believe comes from the pen of co-screenwriter Richard Wenk, who also has a story by credit. He's written some pretty solid scripts in his time. The tone of the movie is all over the place. For one thing, this is meant to be a hard R-rated action film, but there's a lengthy 20-minute section featuring Sergei as a child that feels like it was ripped out of a YA fantasy film and will likely cause a massive chunk of the audience to tune out. When it starts to happen, the action is pretty gory, but the choreography and editing make the action sequences really hard to decipher, with no real standout moments to speak of. And I saw this on an IMAX screen, so I saw it the best possible way, and none of these sequences worked for me at all. Now, every once in a while, you do get a glimmer of what Chandor might have been going for, with the opening 10-minute sequence not bad, with it partly scored to Basil Poledouris' music from The Hunt for Red October. It has a stylishness and a sense of pace the rest of the movie just doesn't have. The script and many of the performances are very clunky, with Ariana DeBose as Kraven's future love interest, Calypso, stuck with some clunky exposition she has a really hard time delivering. But I mean, who can blame her? The villains are a really mixed bag, with Alessandro Nivola camping it up like there's no tomorrow as Rhino. At the same time, Christopher Abbott delivers a quiet, almost method-like performance as an assassin based on the comics The Foreigner, who shows up way too late to make any impact. The best of the three baddies, of course, is Russell Crowe, because hey, he's a movie star and you can't help but look at him because he's Russell Crowe. He plays Sergei's dad, but his screen time is very limited. All of which leaves us with Aaron Taylor Johnson. So here's the thing, Johnson is pretty good as Kraven. He's got the physical look and a sense of humor that makes me think he could be an A+ action hero, if he was given the chance. But they give him next to nothing to work with the dialogue often atrocious and really groan-worthy, the movie's concept about it being about the birth of a supervillain laughably just tacked on in the last 5 minutes. When I interviewed him, Aaron Taylor Johnson said that this was going to kind of be like a Marvel gangster movie, but it does not feel like a gangster movie at all. While Chandor has advocated for the film throughout its lengthy production, I can't help but feel like his version of the movie is just not what we're seeing here. Everyone's been promising this would be grounded, but it's a movie that features a man literally transforming into a rhinoceros. The CGI animals are poorly rendered and are bound to elicit chuckles from the audience that turns out to see this over the holidays. And sad to say, I don't think there's going to be much of an audience. Kraven the Hunter's failure is a shame, as Aaron Taylor Johnson is well cast. He has the chops to be an action star. I even wouldn't mind him as James Bond. He certainly has the look and a certain degree of stylishness. He deserves a better film than Kraven the Hunter is. I think Chandor would have delivered a good movie had he been left to his own devices. And hey, maybe there's a fantastic director's cut sitting on a hard drive somewhere. This feels like one of the bad superhero movies Fox regularly churned out in the 2000s. You know, the ones that were reshot by ghost directors and re-edited. It's marginally better than Madame Web or Morbius, but it's still far from being a legitimately good film, although there sure was a lot of potential. So I give it pretty depressing 5 out of 10.
When the man comes around.